The worst sinners are the ones sitting in the church pews. I know that sounds crazy. I was thinking about this the other day, thought about it more today. I was at a convenience store, gas station thing, and was making a delivery there. And a guy says to me, I don't know how we led up to it, but I think that's right. He asked me, he goes, were you born gay? And I thought he said born again. I said, yeah, I'm born again. And he said, no, born gay. I'm like, oh, born gay. I'm like, no, that's not a thing. And then that guy says he agrees. But anyways, so what we were talking about and it led into is, now this guy's not a Christian. He's a secular guy. And he thought about church. He thought about it. But here's the problem. This is what kept him. Was a customer, by the way, I was talking to, and the clerk was over there too, a gentleman, and he agreed with him, and both of them said the same thing. They thought about church, but it was the hypocrisy of the church buildings that kept them from going to church. So, and that's the trick of the devil. See, I believe the devil, like many things, like Putin has a phase 1, phase 2, same thing. You know what I mean? I can't tell you what phase we're in, but you had the 70s, the Jesus Freak movement. Someone was commenting on one of my comments on a video one time. It started back in the 50s because when the hamburger joints out to World War II, and then I'm like, and that's a good point. But the 60s came, and that was phase 1, you know, and then the 70s came with some of the false Jesus Freak movement, and then we moved on to the 80s, which really got crazy there. With all those TV preachers, and then the 90s, we go on to where we are now. And they said they're all hypocrites because they say one thing and they do another, and they say he's absolutely right. I said 99% of these church buildings clearly seem to be full of hypocrites and sinners. I says, I don't go to a church building, I told them. And as usual, they both look at me going, huh? You just said you were born again. I'm like, right, I am. But we worship at home. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a fellowship of others in your home. There's nothing wrong with getting a little place if you wanted to, if you pay for it for cash or just rent a place, like whatever it may be. Which I struggled for a long time. I'm like, do I want to do something like that one day? Would that be a compromise? But you're not. So therefore you don't forsake the fellowship of others. But here they were, and saying exactly that. They were saying they're full of hypocrites. So that is why you have a falling away of the church. There's not only people in the church that are falling away, there are people who don't even get there who have fallen away. So these false church buildings, which the devil's done a great job with, give credit where his credit due. He's an evil. Obviously, Satan is evil, and he has. Some people say he's infiltrated the churches. I say some of those churches he created. So you not only have the falling away in the church, you'll have a falling away outside of the church. You have people who are not, you could call them false converts, fakes, whatever you want to call them. And then you got people who are never going to make it there because of those false people. You see? And that stems from the pastor that's up there. If he's not able to recognize this, then this is going to destroy any chances of over here, these folks coming in. I want to turn to Matthew chapter 15, verse 8. 15 verse 8. And this is, in my opinion, referencing to the people sitting in the church pews or church chairs, wherever you're going. When I grew up, there were pews. And now, King James Bible, Matthew chapter 15, verse 8. This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. See, they can do a lot of this, but they ain't really believing. They ain't living. They ain't giving faith. They're not there. Some will say, well, it's a social club. Yeah, kind of. Next verse. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. That's these pastors and these priests and these preachers that are up there calling themselves godly men. sometimes living on ungodly lives, and sometimes not even caring if anybody in their congregation is living ungodly lives, and they're not calling it out like they should. You should be calling it out. I think there was a pastor or preacher a long time ago who said, if you go into a church and you are not convicted when you leave, then that church has failed. I agree. If you're not convicted of your sin, then there's a problem. Oh, I was going to go to another verse. Oh, I was going to go to Isaiah where he talks about the people like that, but I'm not going to go to that. I don't want to make this video long. But think about that for a second. The worst people, the worst sinners, are sitting in church pews. Why are they worse? Why are they worse? There's one thing that secular people outside, they sin. They're sinners. They're not saved. So they're not expected to be beautifully saved people and godly folks. They're not putting on any airs. They're not putting up a front. People in church, I think they're more sinful for doing what they're doing, faking it falsely. Putting on a persona of which they don't need and they don't have. That wasn't a proper sentence, but I'm a little annoyed because it's so tiresome and I'm sick and tired of this and it makes me so angry that these people won't get into a church building or they won't even open a Bible because of these people over here and how fake they are. And they're not being called out. Every single one should be called out. Oh, but you know what? You shouldn't judge others. I mean, you got to take the thine over your own. You're not... I'm not going after someone while I'm drinking and telling them they shouldn't drink. You can have righteous anger. Like the nonsense with the verse about you cannot have, you can't be angry with your brother. By the way, that's NIV. It's angry without a cause. KJV. But, that being said, I remember walking out of there because I was talking about different scriptures and the Bible and KJV all the way, King James Bible, that's where you need to be. And I was walking out, dumping some trash into their trash can, because that's what we do. It wasn't just throwing trash in there. And thanking God, I said, oh, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to witness. And we should be witnessing anytime we can in any location. It doesn't have to be knocking on people's doors. It doesn't have to be that. So I just wanted to talk about that for a brief moment. I'm like, we have to fight. Bible believers, you have to fight against that. Don't stop going out there and preaching. I understand there's far fewer Bible believers as Christians than there are Christians sitting in pews. Oh, they're a dime a dozen. They're all there. They're not going to heaven. Oh, how can you make a judgment, please? Judge his fruit by his tree. You got women wearing pants. They're not supposed to be wearing pants in church. We can get all into this stuff. Oh, that's Old Testament. No, check yourself, because that's New Testament. And that's it for me. That's my wrath, I guess you could say. But it's a righteous anger. It's not a nonsense anger. God bless. Have a beautiful evening.